If you think this is just another story about revenge, you're wrong. Because the man who murdered her would one day kneel before her, begging for a love she no longer believed in. But by then it was already too late. The icy wind howled across Blackfang Kingdom as thousands of wolves gathered in the execution square. Rain soaked the wooden platform. Chains wrapped tightly around a young woman's wrists. Her silver hair clung to her face. Blood trickled from the corner of her lips. She was only 22. Her name was Selene Ashthorne. Today, the Alpha King would personally execute her. The crowd cheered. Traitor! Kill the witch. She deserves to die. Not a single voice defended her. Not one. Standing before her was the most feared man on the continent. The Alpha King. Dante Blackwood. Over 6 feet tall, dressed in black armor trimmed with silver wolf fur. His crimson eyes showed no emotion. Kings from neighboring packs trembled before him. Enemies called him the Beast King. Selene slowly lifted her head. Their eyes met. For just a second, she searched his face for the man who had once promised to protect his people. Instead, she found a stranger. Dante. She whispered, I didn't betray the kingdom. I never poisoned your father. I never helped the rogues. You know me. His expression never changed. The evidence says otherwise. Her heart shattered. Evidence can be forged. Not by everyone. He pulled out a sealed scroll. The royal physicians. The council. My beta. They all testified against you. Selene laughed. It wasn't the laugh of someone amused. It was the laugh of someone who had just realized. Truth no longer mattered. You trust them. More than me? Silence. That silence hurt more than any sword. A tear rolled down her cheek. Not because she feared death. Because the man she had secretly loved never trusted her. High above the kingdom, dark clouds circled unnaturally. The elders exchanged nervous glances. The moon goddess is watching. One old woman whispered. Nobody listened. Dante slowly unsheathed his legendary sword. Nightfall. Its blade reflected Selene's broken eyes. The law is absolute. You were judged guilty. I, Dante Blackwood, sentence you to death. The executioner stepped forward. Selene closed her eyes. Memories flashed before her. Her mother smiling. Her father teaching her to run through the forest. The day she first saw Dante defeating rogue wolves. The first time she fell in love. The first time she believed someone could unite every werewolf kingdom. How foolish she had been. She opened her eyes again. Dante. He stopped. If I die today, remember my face. Because one day, I'll be the last thing you see. The crowd laughed. Even the guards smiled. Only Dante remained expressionless. You'll have no second chance. He raised Nightfall. The blade fell. Everything went silent. Instead of pain, Selene heard a woman's voice. Soft, ancient, powerful. Child. Selene opened her eyes. She floated in endless silver light. There was no pain, no chains, no blood, only moonlight stretching beyond eternity. Before her stood a breathtaking woman dressed in flowing white robes. Her silver hair shimmered like stars. A crescent moon glowed above her forehead. Every flower bloomed beneath her bare feet. Selene immediately fell to her knees. The moon goddess. The divine woman smiled sadly. You were innocent. Selene froze. You knew? I knew. Then why? Why did you let him kill me? The moon goddess remained silent. Moments later, she answered. Because fate had already been rewritten. Selene frowned. I don't understand. You will. The goddess raised one hand. Countless golden threads appeared in the sky. Each thread represented a destiny. One of them had been cut. Another had been tied into a knot. You were never meant to die today. Selene stared. Someone changed fate itself. Her heart skipped a beat. Who? I cannot tell you. Divine law forbids it. Anger exploded inside Selene. So justice means nothing? My family died. My name was destroyed. The man I loved murdered me. And you expect me to accept destiny? The moon goddess looked into her eyes. No. I expect you to change it. Selene slowly stood. What are you offering? A second life. Hope flickered. I'll go back. I'll expose everyone. I'll save myself. The goddess slowly shook her head. No. You cannot return to the same life. Selene's face fell. Then what's the point? You'll be reborn. Years before your execution. You will remember everything. You will have the power you never had. And this time, no one will be able to control your destiny. Selene clenched her fists. One face appeared in her mind. Dante, the king who never believed her. The man who swung the sword himself. Hatred burned inside her soul. If you send me back, I won't seek justice. I'll seek revenge. I'll make him lose everything. His throne. His kingdom. His pride. And when he begs for mercy, I'll smile. The way he smiled while killing me. The moon goddess looked away. Almost. As if she regretted something. So be it. Silver light exploded across the heavens. The world shattered into thousands of glowing fragments. Selene felt herself falling through time. She smiled for the first time since her execution. Dante. I'm coming back. But this time, I'm the monster. Then, just before everything disappeared, the moon goddess whispered words that Selene never heard. I'm sorry, child. Because revenge is not the cruelest fate I have prepared for you. Darkness swallowed everything. Sunlight streamed through silk curtains. The scent of lavender filled the room. Birds sang outside the balcony. Selene slowly opened her eyes. I'm alive. She shot upright, gasping for breath. There was no execution platform. No chains. No blood. Instead, she was lying on an enormous bed inside a luxurious bedroom decorated with silver banners bearing the crest of the Ashthorn Pack. Her trembling hands touched her neck. No scar. No wound. No pain. A knock came at the door. My lady. A gentle voice called. Are you awake? Before Selene could answer, the door opened. A young woman rushed inside and hugged her tightly. Thank the moon goddess. You scared me. Selene froze. Mireia. Tears filled her eyes. It was her childhood maid. The same girl who had been murdered while trying to protect Selene in her first life. Yet here she was. Alive. Smiling. My lady. Why are you crying? Selene pulled her into another hug. I thought I lost you. Mireia laughed. You only had a nightmare. Nightmare. If only it had been one. Selene glanced toward the mirror. The reflection stole her breath. She looked 16 again. Younger. Healthier. Her silver hair flowed to her waist. Her sapphire blue eyes sparkled with life instead of sorrow. She whispered. It worked. I really came back. Mireia tilted her head. What worked? Selene quickly smiled. Nothing. But inside, her heart thundered. 6 years. She had returned 6 years before her execution. Exactly as the moon goddess had promised. And this time, she remembered everything. Every lie. Every betrayal. Every face. Especially one. Dante Blackwood. She walked onto the balcony. Below, warriors trained in the courtyard. Children laughed. Servants hurried through the gardens. Everything she had once lost still existed. She clenched the balcony railing. I won't lose any of you again. Not this time. That evening, Selene quietly entered the Ashthorne family's forbidden library. In her first life, she had never been allowed inside. Now she knew why. Hidden beneath the floor was a secret chamber. She remembered accidentally overhearing her father mention it years ago. She searched carefully until her fingers found a loose stone. Click. The bookshelf slid aside. A staircase descended into darkness. Holding a candle, Selene walked down. Ancient scrolls filled the chamber. Weapons lined the walls. At the center stood a black chest engraved with wolves and crescent moons. She slowly opened it. Inside lay a silver dagger unlike anything she had ever seen. The blade shimmered beneath the candlelight. As soon as she touched it, a voice echoed inside her mind. Finally, Selene dropped the dagger in shock. "Who's there?" Silence. Then, the blade glowed again. "Only the rightful heir of Ashthorne can awaken me." Selene stared. "A talking weapon?" The voice chuckled. "I am Eclipse, forged before the first Alpha King was born. I cut through lies, not flesh." Selene frowned. "What does that mean?" "Anyone wounded by me cannot speak a lie." Her heartbeat quickened. A weapon. That forced truth. If she had possessed this in her first life, she could have exposed everyone. She smiled. "This kingdom is about to become very uncomfortable." Months passed. Selene trained every single day. Swordsmanship, politics, combat, strategy. She studied history, military tactics, economics, pack alliances. While everyone believed she was becoming the perfect noble lady, she was secretly becoming the most dangerous woman in the kingdom. One afternoon, her father entered the training grounds. Lord Orion Ashthorne, one of the strongest alphas alive. He watched Selene defeat 3 elite warriors without taking a single hit. He burst into laughter. "My daughter, when did you become this terrifying?" Selene smiled. "I simply decided never to be weak again." Her father proudly placed a hand on her shoulder. "Good. Because next month, you'll attend the Royal Unity Banquet." Her smile disappeared. Royal Banquet? A forgotten memory returned. 6 years ago. That banquet had changed everything. It was the first time she ever met Dante. Her stomach tightened. This time, she wouldn't fall in love. This time, she would watch him like prey. 1 month later, the royal palace glittered beneath thousands of crystal chandeliers. Every alpha family had gathered. Music echoed through the grand hall. Laughter filled the air. Selene stepped inside wearing a silver gown embroidered with moonflowers. The entire ballroom fell silent. Noblemen stared. Ladies whispered, "Who is she?" "Lord Ashthorne's daughter." "I've never seen anyone so beautiful." Selene ignored every gaze. She searched for only one man. Then, the giant palace doors opened. The atmosphere instantly changed. Every alpha bowed. Every warrior lowered their head. Heavy footsteps echoed across the marble floor. Dante Blackwood entered. Exactly as she remembered. Black military uniform. Golden royal insignia. Cold crimson eyes. Power radiated from every step. Selene's hands instinctively trembled. Not from fear. From rage. Images flashed through her mind. The execution platform. Nightfall slicing through the air. His emotionless face. She whispered, "Murderer." Across the ballroom, Dante suddenly stopped walking. His sharp eyes slowly scanned the crowd. Then, they locked onto Selene. Time froze. For reasons neither of them understood. His heart skipped a beat. A strange pain pierced his chest. He had never seen this woman before. Yet, something inside him screamed, "Find her." Selene immediately looked away. No, not yet. She wasn't here to confront him. She was here to study him. understand him, destroy him. As musicians began another dance, a servant accidentally spilled wine across Selene's dress. The servant dropped to his knees. "I am sorry, Lady Selene." Before Selene could respond, a calm male voice spoke behind her. "It was an accident. I'll take responsibility." Selene's blood ran cold. She already knew that voice. Slowly, she turned around. Dante stood only inches away. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, their eyes met. He offered her a clean white handkerchief. "I apologize on behalf of the palace." His voice was calm, respectful, nothing like the ruthless king who had sentenced her to death. Selene stared at the handkerchief. Memories and reality collided. She wanted to slap it away. She wanted to scream. She wanted to tell everyone, "This man murdered me." Instead, she forced herself to smile. The moment Selene's fingers brushed Dante's, a silver spark disappeared before anyone noticed. Except one person. An old priest standing near the royal altar suddenly tightened his grip on his staff. His cloudy eyes widened. "No. That's impossible." But before he could say anything, the music resumed. The nobles returned to dancing. Only Dante remained still. He stared at Selene's retreating figure. A strange ache settled deep inside his chest. He had fought hundreds of battles, faced death countless times. Yet this unfamiliar feeling terrified him. His beta stepped beside him. "Your Majesty?" Dante didn't answer. "Find out who she is." The beta smiled. "Lady Selene Ashthorne, the daughter of Lord Orion." Dante continued watching her. "Interesting." The beta's smile slowly disappeared. He had served Dante for years. Never, not once, had the Alpha King shown interest in any woman, not even princesses from neighboring kingdoms. Yet tonight, everything had changed. Across the ballroom, Selene felt his gaze. She refused to look back. Instead, she quietly walked toward the palace library, exactly as she remembered. In her previous life, she had accidentally overheard 2 guards discussing a secret tunnel beneath the palace. That tunnel connected directly to the royal archives, where every classified document was kept. If she could enter, she might discover who truly framed her. The hallway was empty. She slipped inside unnoticed. Torchlight flickered against ancient stone walls. Everything looked exactly the same, except someone was already there. A man dressed entirely in black, his face hidden beneath a hood. He held an old scroll. Selene instinctively reached for Eclipse. The silver dagger instantly appeared in her hand. The hooded man slowly turned. For a second, neither of them moved. Then he smiled. "You remember." Selene froze. "What?" "You remember your previous life." Every drop of blood in her body turned cold. "Who are you?" Instead of answering, the stranger gently tossed a crystal pendant toward her. She caught it. Inside the crystal, she saw herself, bound in chains, standing on the execution platform. It was a memory, one she had lived. Impossible. The man spoke softly. "You aren't the only one who came back." Selene's heart stopped. "There are others who remember." Before she could ask another question, the hallway exploded. Boom. Stone shattered. Smoke filled the corridor. Royal guards rushed toward them. When the dust settled, the mysterious man had vanished. Only the crystal pendant remained in Selene's hand. That night, Selene couldn't sleep. Someone else remembered. Someone else knew the truth. But who? Friend? Enemy? Or something worse? As she stared out the window, the pendant suddenly glowed. A whisper echoed inside her room. "Trust no one, especially the moon goddess." Selene jumped to her feet. "Who's there?" Silence. The glow disappeared. Her breathing quickened. The moon goddess? Why shouldn't she trust the very goddess who saved her? The next morning, the palace announced the beginning of the sacred moon festival. It happened only once every 100 years. Every alpha, every luna, every noble family would gather beneath the moon temple. According to legend, the moon goddess herself would bless the future of the werewolf kingdom. Selene frowned. She didn't remember this festival happening in her previous life. Everything was changing. That evening, thousands of wolves surrounded the moon temple. Silver flames burned without heat. The giant moon hung low in the sky. It looked almost close enough to touch. The high priest raised both hands. Tonight, we witness the will of the moon goddess. No lies, no deception, only fate. The crowd knelt. Selene reluctantly did the same. Across the temple, Dante knelt as well. For the first time, the ruthless Alpha King bowed before someone greater than himself. The high priest lifted an ancient crystal toward the moon. Suddenly, the entire temple shook. A pillar of silver light crashed down from the heavens. Everyone gasped. The crystal floated into the air. Its light spread across the temple. Searching, searching. Then, it stopped. Directly above Selene. The crowd erupted. The moon goddess has chosen someone. What does it mean? The high priest's hands trembled. It can't be. Another beam of light shot across the temple. This one landed on Dante. Silence. Absolute silence. Even the wind stopped blowing. The two silver lights slowly intertwined. The temple bells rang by themselves. Then, a divine female voice echoed across the kingdom. Two souls, separated by hatred, bound by destiny. The moon exploded into dazzling silver light. A glowing wolf-shaped mark appeared on Selene's wrist. At the exact same moment, the identical mark appeared on Dante's wrist. The high priest collapsed to his knees. His voice cracked. The mate bond. The crowd gasped. No. It can't be. The Alpha King and Lady Selene are fated mates. The kingdom erupted into cheers. Worship the moon goddess. Long live the Alpha King. The perfect Luna has been chosen. Only one person didn't move. Selene. She stared at the glowing mark on her wrist. Her face turned pale. No. No. This isn't happening. Memories flooded back. The execution. The blade. The blood. His cold eyes. Then she looked at Dante. He was staring at the same mark. Equally shocked. Neither of them spoke. Finally, Selene laughed. A broken, hopeless laugh. Tears filled her eyes. She looked toward the moon. You promised me justice. You gave me revenge. So why did you chain me to the man who murdered me? Her voice echoed through the silent temple. Then, with every noble watching, every alpha holding their breath, Selene slowly raised her hand. She grabbed the glowing mate mark. Ignoring the burning pain, she pulled a dagger from her waist. Eclipse. The blade that cut through lies. She pressed it against the mark. Gasps spread through the crowd. The high priest screamed. Stop. You'll destroy your soul. Selene didn't hesitate. She drove the dagger across her own wrist. Blood splashed across the temple floor. The glowing mark cracked. The silver light flickered violently. For one terrifying second, it looked as if the mate bond had shattered. The entire sky turned crimson. Thunder roared. Then, a voice far more powerful than before shook the heavens. You may reject the man, but no soul rejects destiny. The broken mark instantly healed itself. The wound on Selene's wrist disappeared. The mate mark returned, brighter than before. Selene stood frozen. Impossible. Even Eclipse couldn't cut fate. Then the moon goddess spoke one final sentence. A sentence that made Selene's heart stop. Your revenge begins only after he falls in love with you. The divine light vanished. The crowd remained speechless. Across the temple, Dante slowly looked at Selene. Not with hatred, not with desire, but with a question that haunted him. Why did you look at me? As if I had already destroyed your life? Selene met his eyes. For the first time, she smiled. It wasn't the smile of a woman in love. It was the smile of someone who had just discovered the cruelest punishment imaginable. If fate wants you to love me, she whispered so only he could hear, then I'll make sure. Your love becomes the weapon that destroys you. The sacred moon festival ended, but the kingdom never recovered. Every tavern, every market, every noble house, people whispered the same words. The Alpha King has finally found his fated mate. The moon goddess herself chose Lady Selene. The royal wedding will happen soon. Only Selene knew the truth. There would never be a wedding. Only revenge. The next morning, royal messengers arrived at Ashthorn Manor. Lord Orion unrolled the golden scroll. The Alpha King requests Lady Selene's presence at the palace. His voice trembled with excitement. My daughter, this is the greatest honor our family has ever received. Selene forced a smile. Inside, hatred burned hotter than ever. Hours later, she entered the royal palace. The guards respectfully bowed. The servants greeted her. Everything was different now. Not because she had changed. Because everyone believed she was the future Luna. Dante was waiting alone in the royal garden. The moment he saw her, his wolf stirred. Mate. The voice echoed inside his mind. He ignored it. Selene stopped several feet away. You wanted to see me? Dante nodded. For answers. She laughed coldly. You won't like them. I'll decide that myself. Silence settled between them. Finally, he spoke. Have we met before? Selene's heartbeat skipped. What? When I saw you, it felt like losing someone I never knew. I've never experienced that before. Selene looked away. Perhaps your imagination is stronger than your instincts. No. He stepped closer. My instincts have never been wrong. For one brief moment, she almost told him everything. Almost. Then she remembered the execution. The sword. The cheers. Her heart turned cold again. You know nothing about me. She turned to leave. But Dante quietly said, I know one thing. She stopped. You hate me. She slowly looked back. And you don't even know why. That night, Selene couldn't sleep. The more she spoke to Dante, the more confused she became. He wasn't pretending. His reactions, his questions, his guilt, they all felt real. Yet she had watched him execute her. She had died by his sword. How could both things be true? The crystal pendant suddenly began glowing. A silver mist filled her room. The hooded stranger appeared once again. You finally noticed. Selene immediately drew Eclipse. Who are you? The stranger lowered his hood. A young man stood before her. His eyes glowed silver instead of gold. My name is Lucian. I serve neither kings nor gods. What do you want? The truth. He stretched out his hand. I'll show you. Before Selene could react, he touched the crystal pendant. The room disappeared. Suddenly, Selene found herself standing inside the royal throne room. Everything looked familiar. She recognized the day immediately. The day before her execution. But something was wrong. No one could see her. She wasn't reliving the memory. She was watching it. Dante stood before his council. The evidence against Lady Selene is weak. His voice echoed through the chamber. I refuse to sentence an innocent woman. Selene's eyes widened. Impossible. The royal beta stepped forward. Your Majesty. The council has already voted. We cannot appear weak. Dante slammed his fist onto the throne. I said no. If there is even a chance she's innocent, the execution is cancelled. Selene felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. Cancelled? Then, why did she die? The memory continued. A royal messenger rushed inside. Your Majesty, the eastern border is under attack. Dante cursed. Prepare the army. He looked at the beta. I'll return tomorrow. No one is to touch Lady Selene. Is that understood? The beta bowed. As you command. The vision froze. Selene couldn't breathe. No. Lucien looked at her quietly. The king left for the battlefield. The execution happened while he was gone. Selene shook her head violently. That's impossible. I saw him. I saw Dante kill me. Lucien whispered. Keep watching. The vision changed. The execution platform appeared. The crowd screamed. The Alpha King walked forward. Nightfall was in his hand. Everything happened exactly as Selene remembered. Until the man's face briefly reflected in a puddle of rainwater. Selene gasped. It wasn't Dante. It looked exactly like him. But the eyes were different. Golden, not crimson. The Alpha removed his glove. A black serpent tattoo covered his wrist. Selene remembered. Dante had never had a tattoo. The fake Alpha raised Nightfall. The blade fell. The vision shattered. Selene stumbled backward. No. No. I saw him. I know what I saw. Lucien's expression darkened. You saw what someone wanted you to see. The execution was an illusion. The kingdom believed the Alpha King carried out the sentence. So did you. Selene's legs gave out beneath her. If Dante hadn't killed her, then who had? Lucien answered the question she hadn't spoken. The beta. Victor Nightbane. He possesses forbidden shadow magic. He can steal another person's appearance. Selene's entire body went numb. Her greatest enemy had never been Dante. It had always been the man standing beside him. Meanwhile, inside the palace, Victor Nightbane stood alone in his chamber. He opened an ancient black book. Its pages were written in blood. A shadow rose from its center. She remembers. Victor smiled. I know. And the king? Victor's smile widened. He remembers nothing. For now. The shadow laughed. You've played this game well. Victor looked toward the full moon. I've waited 20 years for the throne. I'm not losing everything. To one reborn girl. Then he whispered words that chilled the room. If Selene discovers the final truth, kill the moon goddess's oracle. The next morning, Selene marched straight to the palace. She burst into Dante's office without permission. The guards reached for their swords. Dante raised his hand. Leave us. The doors closed. Neither of them spoke. Selene stared into his crimson eyes. For the first time, she wasn't looking at her executioner. She was looking at a man who had also been betrayed. Slowly, she placed a clip on his desk. Answer one question. If you lie, this blade will know. Dante looked at the silver dagger, then back at Selene. Ask. Her voice trembled. 6 years from now, if someone convinced you I had betrayed the kingdom, would you execute me? Without hearing my side? The room fell silent. Dante didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked directly into her eyes, then calmly placed his palm on Eclipse's blade. If you were truly innocent, I would burn my own kingdom before I let anyone take your life. Eclipse remained completely silent. It detected no lie. Selene felt tears welling in her eyes. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, she realized something that shattered everything she believed. The man she had sworn to destroy had been trying to save her all along. But before she could speak, A palace guard burst through the doors. "Your Majesty, the High Priest, has been murdered." The room froze. Dante and Selene exchanged a horrified glance. The one man who could explain the moon goddess's prophecy was dead, and on the palace floor, written in blood, were 6 terrifying words. "The third life has already begun." The high priest lay motionless. Blood covered the white marble floor. His lifeless eyes stared toward the moonlight pouring through the temple ceiling. On the floor beside him, written in blood, "The third life has already begun." The entire palace fell into chaos. Guards searched every hallway. The gates were sealed. No one entered. No one left. Yet, the killer had vanished. Dante knelt beside the high priest's body. There has to be something he left behind. Selene noticed the old priest's hand tightly clenched into a fist. She slowly opened his fingers. Inside was a tiny silver key. The symbol engraved on it was identical to the one on her dagger, Eclipse. Lucien suddenly appeared from the shadows. "I know where it belongs." Without another word, the 3 hurried beneath the moon temple. Deep underground, they found a forgotten chamber older than the kingdom itself. At its center stood a massive stone door. Selene inserted the key. With a deafening rumble, the door opened. Inside was no treasure, no weapons, only a single crystal surrounded by moonlight. As Selene stepped closer, the crystal began replaying memories. Not her memories. The moon goddesses. Thousands of years ago, the first Alpha King stood beside the moon goddess. He had made a promise. As long as the Alpha King protects the innocent, the moon goddess will protect the throne. But one man broke that promise. Victor Nightbane's ancestor. A servant who desired power more than justice. Unable to defeat the Alpha King in battle, he discovered forbidden shadow magic. A magic capable of changing memories, stealing faces, and rewriting fate itself. Generation after generation, the Nightbane bloodline repeated the same ritual. Every time they failed to seize the throne, they reset destiny, changing history, again, and again, and again. Selene's breathing became uneven. "So, my first life," Lucien nodded, "wasn't the first." The crystal flashed. Another memory appeared. Selene watched herself. Dying. Again. Another life. Another execution. Then another. And another. Different kingdoms. Different years. Different endings. But always the same enemy. Victor Nightbane's bloodline. She had lived. And died. Hundreds of times. Every timeline ended before she could expose them. The moon goddess hadn't betrayed her. She had been trying 4 centuries to find one timeline where Selene survived. Tears filled Selene's eyes. "You weren't punishing me." A gentle voice echoed through the chamber. "No, my child." The moon goddess herself appeared. "I was searching for the one future where evil could finally end." Selene slowly fell to her knees. "I'm sorry. I hated you." The goddess smiled sadly. "You were meant to. Hatred gave you the strength to return." Suddenly, the chamber exploded. Victor stepped through the smoke, clapping. "Beautiful speech." He smiled. "But it ends today." His body transformed. Dark shadows wrapped around him. His eyes turned completely black. Behind him, thousands of shadow wolves emerged. "The throne has always belonged to my family. The Alpha Kings merely borrowed it." Dante stepped forward. "You murdered innocent people for generations." Victor laughed. "I did much worse." He looked directly at Selene. "I killed your parents. I killed Mireia. I poisoned my own father. I even manipulated your first meeting with Dante. Everything you ever loved, I destroyed." Selene's wolf roared. Her eyes glowed silver. She charged. The underground temple shook as swords clashed. Shadow wolves attacked from every direction. Dante fought beside Selene, back to back. For the first time, not as enemies, but as equals. Victor proved unstoppable. Every wound healed instantly. Every attack failed. Lucien shouted, "You can't kill him." "Not while the shadow crystal exists." Victor laughed. "Exactly." He pointed toward the enormous black crystal floating above the battlefield. "It contains every stolen timeline. As long as it survives. So do I." Dante looked at Selene. She immediately understood. Without a word, they split apart. Victor chased Selene, believing she intended to destroy the crystal. Instead, she smiled, exactly as she had on the execution platform. Victor hesitated. "Why are you smiling?" "Because this is the revenge I promised." She deliberately stopped attacking. Victor drove his sword through her chest. The battlefield fell silent. Dante screamed, "Selene!" Blood stained her white dress. Victor laughed triumphantly. "You've lost." Selene looked up at him. "No. You have." She gently placed a clips against Victor's heart. "I told you. This blade cuts through lies." Victor frowned. "What lie?" Selene whispered. "The greatest lie was the life you stole." Eclipse began glowing brighter than ever before. It wasn't cutting flesh. It was cutting the stolen timelines. Every false life. Every rewritten destiny. Every illusion Victor had created over centuries. The shadow crystal cracked. Victor's smile disappeared. "No. Stop." Crack. Crack. Crash. The crystal exploded. Thousands of silver lights flew into the sky. Each light represented a stolen lifetime, finally set free. Victor suddenly began aging. His hair turned white. His skin withered. His shadow wolves vanished. Without the stolen timelines, he was no immortal mastermind. He was merely an old man whose true age finally caught up with him. He collapsed before the entire kingdom, begging, "Crown me. I deserve the throne." Selene looked down at him, then smiled. Not cruelly, sadly. "You never wanted justice. You only wanted to be remembered." She turned away. "I won't even remember your name." Victor reached toward her. "No. No." His body crumbled into ash. The wind carried him away. Not as a king. Not as a legend. But as nothing. The moon goddess looked at Selene. "The cycle is over. The mate bond is now your choice." The glowing mark on Selene's wrist disappeared. For the first time, she was truly free. Dante slowly approached. He knelt before her. Not because fate demanded it. Because he chose to. "I cannot ask for forgiveness. I can only spend the rest of my life earning it." Selene looked at the man she had hated for 2 lifetimes. Then at the empty sky. She finally understood. Revenge wasn't killing him. That would have ended her pain for a moment. The real revenge was destroying the person who had stolen both of their lives. She offered Dante her hand. "Stand." He looked up in surprise. "I won't love you today," she said honestly. "Perhaps not tomorrow. But if you truly wish to stay beside me, you'll have to win my heart. No moon goddess. No fate. Just your actions." Dante smiled for the first time. "I'll wait. As long as it takes." Above them, the moon goddess smiled. Not because 2 mates had reunited, but because, after centuries of bloodshed, 2 souls had finally chosen each other, without destiny forcing them. And beneath the full moon, a new era began. Not with revenge, but with freedom. If you love this story, then don't forget to subscribe the channel. Comment if you have any story suggestion. Until then, sending you lots of love.